everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bilikis. How are you doing? Today's class will be on how to make this lovely dress I have here, which is so beautiful. Looking at the skirt, you will see the upper part is just your normal busted bodice, as you can see that, though it is a strapless dress. Looking at the skirts, it is a long skirt and then stylishly styled by the side, as you can see, with some frills or ruffles by the side, which is just so beautiful. So I'm going to be teaching you step by step on how to go about this lovely dress. And what are required for this, it is just your normal basic bodies with that. And in case you don't know how to do this, I will put the link in the description box below. This is a pattern for my little mannequin. So as you can see that, just your normal basic bodies. Then you will need your normal basic skirts because we are dealing with a long dress. So I just had to extend my pattern. And then for this, I have my basic skirt without that. If you are making use of a cotton fabric, you should have a dart just to give it that fitting and all that. I extended it into a long skirt, and definitely we have to make it tapered, but I wanted to show you how I go about that. So all I did was to take my measuring tape and then come in by 1 inch. So for yourself, like if I'm making it for myself, I could do up to 1.5 to make it tapered, then connect it to some inches below the hip, about 1 inch or so. Then you can just cut it all out. And it should be on fold because of the style we are making. So can you see that beautiful skirt, tapered skirt? So it should be on fold. Now this is what we have. Can you see that? So now let's quickly get to what we have to do to make this lovely dress. Let's focus on the upper part first. So first let's deal with the front panel. Here you will need your measurements of your under the bust, that is from the nape of your neck to under your bust. Looking from here, the measurement is from here, this is where the bust point stops. So under the bust will be from the nape of your neck to where your bra stops, which is 6 1/4 for 6 1/4 will be somewhere here. So this is what we have. Then for someone that is not busty, you just take in 1/4 inch. You measure from each side of the dart, 1/4 inch on both sides of the dart. This is to get rid of the excesses fabric under your bust. And if you're someone that is busty, then you can make it up to 1/2 inch. But for her, I'm just going to make it 1/4. See that? Then you need to connect it back to the dart. And then you form the curve. See that? Now this is what we have. So the bust will be prominent with what we have done. The next thing we have to do now is to cut out the upper part. Then in doing this, you could use your bust radius to determine what the neckline should be, except if you want something higher. For instance, for yourself, you want it to be off by 5 to 6 inches. That depends on you. If you use your bust radius, that is your under the bust measurement minus your bust point, you might have a little part of your boobs showing, so you might want to go up from your bust radius by ½ inch or so. So now the bust radius here is this is the bust point to the other bust. That's about 1¼ So if I want that, so that means it will be somewhere here. So it depends. So I could just make it 1½ is fine, I guess. Then rotate it to the other part. 1½ That's what I'm going to do. Then from her sketch, this part is straight. You could have a sweetheart neck. You could always alter your style. So having done that now, you will come down by ½ to ¾ inch for yourself when you're making one for yourself now. So to be accurate, just close up the darts. See, then you can now blend it up. So you could just make it a bit curvy at the end here. That all depends on your preference. So now this is what we have. So can you see the upper part of the dress is formed, and I'm going to cut that out. Then before we cut it out, because a busted top is something that should be fitted at the upper part, so we need to do some contouring at that part. So for yourself now, just take in ½ inch on both sides of the dart. But for this, I'm just going to make it ¼ inch on both sides. But for yourself, make it ½ inch. This is very essential. Just make it stay so well on you. Connect it to the bust point here. Now this is what we have for the upper parts. Can you see that was so beautiful? So this is going to be unfold. So this part is going to be unfold. So that is it on the front panel. Now let's quickly go to the back. So for the back, it is easier. For yourself, just come down from this ham side depth by 1¼ to 1½ Yeah, by standard 1¼ to 1½ Just come down from the arm side depth, but you could make it lower depending on your preference. So here, let me just make it 3/4, and don't forget to come down by ½ inch to 3/4, just as we did to the front panel. Let me confirm that. So Okay, good. So make sure this part is straight. Before making a curve. Good. So the back is easy. Another vital thing you need to do for yourself, just go in, just take 1/4 inch outward here, 1/4 inch outward here. This is just to firm the neckline. That is why we are doing all that. This is the back, so don't forget. So this will be the center back, and this will be the side, and this is for the front. Can you see a beautiful upper part is formed for the front and the back? So now let's quickly go to the skirt. We need to style the side. You can choose whichever side you want it to be, but I'm going to choose the side. What I'm going to do now is to note the hip area, and from my pattern I know this is the hip area, as you can see. When cutting this up, because we are going to be sewing on the ruffles right from the waist to somewhere below the hip here. So now what I will do is this. So for yourself, about 4 inches below your hip is fine, or 3, depending on how much skin you want to show off. So here I'm just going to make use of, let me say, 1.5 below the hip here, and then we are going to connect in a curvy manner straight down here. So just take your time while doing that. This is what it looks like. So this is going to be cut off, and then some fabric is going to be added right from here straight to the waist area. There are even some that you can even add this fabric back to the skirt, even with the frills, so as to have it covered. If you don't want to open the skin, I will explain that as we go on. So this is what we have. Can you see that? Now this is what the skirt is going to look like, with the upper part too being attached to it. Now, how do you calculate the amount of ruffles to be added to the skirt? It's very easy. All you have to do is to take your measuring tape and measure whatever you have from the waist here. So here I have 17 inches. So 17 inches is the total measurement I have here. Then you need to determine how long you want the ruffles to be. Like for yourself, you could make it between 7 to 8 or even 9, depending on how long you want it to be. When I mean how long, I mean from here down here. So for her, I can just make it like 2 inches for her. But when you're talking of a normal person, between 7 to 9, 10 is fine, depending on your preference. Now I have 17 inches by 2 inches in height. Now, because it's going to be gathered, that 17 inches should be multiplied by 2.5 or 3, depending on the fabric at hand. But the minimum you should do is 2.5, multiply it by 2.5, because the more fabric you gather, the more beautiful and lovely it's going to be. So that is how you go about that. So having done that, so 17, okay, times 2.5. Let me just quickly do that calculation. So I have 8.5. So 17 times 2 will give me 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's about 42.5 inches now for the side. So you will be cutting two of that, one for the front and one for the back. Then you might be wondering, what if you want a zipper allowance? I'm going to show you how to do that, how to add your zipper allowance and still have your pattern intact. What I'm going to do now is to lay emphasis on this lower part. I'm going to get a fabric and cut it out for you to see how it's going to look like, and then sew it up. I have cut it out on the fabric. So this is the right side and this is the wrong side. So this is what it looks like with the seam allowance added to it. Now, how do we cut the back to have a zipper allowance? All I have to do is that with this line, I know where the slit is going to be. That's the center of the skirt. Then I'm going to slit that open. Good. Can you see? So I'm going to cut this also out, including the zipper allowance. Then I'll show you the next step on how to fix it together. Back panel, as you can see, this half an inch seam allowance has been added all around, and then the zipper allowance has been inserted, which is going to be sewing to have a pattern again. So this is what we have for the back, and this is the front. And you see everything is just intact. Then going to the fabric, remember that I measured 17 inches for the required fabric, and when we multiplied it by 2.5, I got 42.5. Now I have a long strip of fabric of 42 inches, and then in height, remember I said I want 2 inches, but here I have 3 inches. Why? Half an inch to hem the lower part and half an inch to attach it to the skirts. So that is why I have that. So 3 inches by 42 inches. After sewing it, the first thing you need to note is where the zipper is going to end along the skirt. So for normal adults, between 8 to 9 inches is fine. Then you can notch that point. So for it, I'm just going to put it and notch. So with that point, I know that's where the zipper allowance is going to end. What I'm going to do now is this. Make sure right side are facing each other. And then I'll go to the sewing machine and sew from this point where I want the zipper to end straight down to have our panels together. And after doing that, what I'm going to do next is to attach. The next thing will be to gather up the fabric. I'm going to gather up this fabric to have 17, that is for the side, or you could just split it, but gathering it is the best. It comes out beautiful. So I'm just going to gather it and then attach to the skirt all around. The half-inch seam allowance we left on both. So let me sew up the back and then gather up the fabric. Attach. Can you see that? So beautiful. I just splitted it all around, but please make sure you gather yours because it adds to the beauty. Then you can add crinoline to the lower parts, that is horsehair braid. It's going to come out beautiful. So look at the back now. Can you see? So this is the zipper allowance. So can you see here is opened? So this is what the back looks like. Step we are going to do now is to attach this other side first, and I'm going to show you the trick on how to finish this part. So right side facing each other, and then I'll take 1/2 inch all down. Side has been sewn by the 1/2 inch we left all around. So turning it to the right side. Oh my God, this is just so beautiful. So beautiful the dress is going to be. And on the back, you still have your zipper allowance intact. So the next thing we are going to do now is to close the side. So what I will do is to turn it back to the wrong side. Good. You see that? Then take your pattern, although you should have marked that on your fabric. So place it here. So this is the point whereby we said we are going to stop the sewing. That is, we want it to open from below the hip here downward. This is the hip line, and this is about, on a normal adult, 4, 5, 6, depending on how much skin or tie you want to show. So this point now. So what I'm going to do is this. Since I want it to stop at this point, take the ruffles, push it inward. On the other side, push it inward, and make sure you only have the seam allowance. Match it up. You see, make sure you sew on the seam line. So this is the mark here. So what I will do now is to sew on the seam line. So make sure this upper seam line matches with the lower seam line, and make sure you use a matching thread. So the next thing now is to start sewing on that seam until I get to the point where I want it to stop. Can you see that? Only on the seam allowance. Sew the side to the point where I want it to stop. So can you see what I have? Let me turn it to the right side. Beautiful skirts. Wow, can you see that? So looking at it, it's opening to the point where we want it to stop, and we still have everything intact. Can you see it by the side? So wonderful. Oh my God, you need to make this dress, especially during the season. Can you see that? So at the back, this is what it looks like. It's tapered and beautiful. So what I'm going to do now is to put it on my mini mannequin for you to see how lovely the skirt is. So imagine you just attach the upper part to it. You're good to go with a beautiful dress. So let's see the outcome of the lovely skirt. Just imagine attaching the upper part to it. It's just gonna be wonderful. This is a must-have dress. And my tutorial on how to make this has been helpful. Please give me a giant thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Tag me with your beautiful dress on Bilikis Signatures on Instagram and on Facebook, Sewing Innovations. Oh my God, share the link with your family and friends. I have to go right now. Bye guys.